So in this War Thunder video, we're going to be looking at the Challenger DS, which is a very interesting vehicle because it's a Desert Storm variant of the Challenger that we've already had in a tech tree, the Mark II. So it's basically a copy-paste premium once again, just like the Leopard 2A4, and as well as the M1 KVT for America. They're basically the same thing that you can get within a tech tree, but as a premium version, which is not really that, bad. It's not really a pay-to-win thing. You just basically get to experience, the Challenger within War Thunder for just paying some real-life money for it, which is always pretty interesting. But the overall thing about the Challenger is that it's a very interesting and also very odd tank to me. Now, this is just from personal experience. I normally do really good in things like the Challenger and also things like the Challenger 2 even. And the thing that I don't really understand is like, why do I do well in them? And I feel like it goes on the same premise of like the Chieftains. So back in the day, the Chieftains were pretty good. They had the hedge thing where they did pretty all right. But the thing about the Chieftains is that they were so slow that you would actually kind of do this weird thing where you would, kind of estimate what's going to happen within the battle a little bit better just because you're slower. You're not really going to overextend as much. And I feel like that's what the Challengers kind of do in War Thunder, is where, the M1 KVTs, the Leopard 2A4s, they're kind of just speeding along, getting way past you. You're kind of set in the back, just kind of watching what happens around you and watching what they do. And you kind of just go and kind of fill in the gap of where, they're kind of making mistakes, which is one of those things that I feel like happens in the Challengers a lot because you're kind of slow. If it's not one of the slowest MBTs at this battle rating, it's definitely down there at the slowest because it's only around 35 miles per hour, I believe, at going forward, which isn't the best in the world. And it's just very odd for what it is. But yeah, that's kind of what I think about the Challenger. It's just very odd, but I feel like at the same time, I do really good with it. So even though it's really odd, I feel like it's a pretty decent little vehicle. So the Challenger is coming in at a battle rating of 10.0. It's going to be a rank 7 for Britain, which means that even if they add eight ranks to tanks in the future, you'll be able to research the whole entire tech tree of Britain, which is always a really good thing. So also with the Challenger DS, you have the 120 for Britain, which is a pretty decent gun. Now for the Challenger DS, at least, I don't like the round. So for the L23A1, it's just not a great round in my opinion. I feel like the post-pin damage of L23 just in general just doesn't do it for me. Like whenever you pin stuff with this, and I've had it happen a lot, it doesn't want to detonate ammo, it doesn't want to kill crew members, it doesn't want to, spall really well, and L23 has always been just one of those things I don't particularly like. But whenever you start to play stuff like the Challenger 2s, or even the Challenger, Mark III, which has L26, the rounds actually get a little bit better in my opinion, and I feel like the post-pin of it is a little bit better. Now, by no means am I saying that the Challenger DS is not usable with L26, but do be kind of worried about your shot placement, because whenever you kind of mess up with the L26, it's not really friendly to, help you out, especially if you're off by a little bit going for ammo or going for crew and all that sort of stuff. So be kind of cognizant of that. Now, the cool thing about the Challenger is that it has a weird reload system. And what I mean by that is that your first stage ammo is about 4 pieces. So you get 4 things of ammo where your reload is very, very low. You can get the reload down for at least the first 4 rounds to the same thing as a 105 for the Abrams, which is going to be about 5 seconds if you ace the crew, which is going to be really good. You're going to be able to beat pretty much any reload whenever it comes to any of the premiums or anything around you whenever it comes to that. It's going to be a really good reload whenever it comes to that. But here's the big but. If you shoot more than 4 rounds and you do not replenish your first stage ammo rack, your ammo and your reload is just going to be a little bit longer. So you do have to be very cognizant of that. I've seen situations of people whenever they're going through a little town or, close to a capture point of where they'll get 4 kills and they're like, oh, cool, my reload's really quick. It's 5 seconds. And then they shoot their 5th round and it's like, oh no, my reload is extremely long now and here comes 3 other people. So make sure to always top up your ammo. Sometimes it might be worth to actually top it up before you engage multiple targets, just because you might need multiple rounds to actually, kill them. But, it is one of those little quirks that you kind of have to just be cognizant of. It's not really going to make or break your engagements in the Challenger, but do be cognizant of it, that you only get 4 rounds as the really quick reload, and then you have a little bit longer reload. So yeah, the last thing to talk about with the Challenger is the armor. So it's one of those things with the Challenger. So the armor is a really hit or miss thing. Some people really love it, some people hate it, and I'm one of those that's in between. So pretty much disregard the whole entire hull of the Challenger. It is bad. You can get pinned by APHE from a T-34 D5. in the lower plate. It has no composite down there. You're just done. Like, the whole of the Challenger is back. Case closed. Now, where the Challenger kind of shines is in the turret. So the reason it shines in the turret is because it's able to stop majority of the rounds you'll face. There's one in particular round, and also now, especially with the strikers being around, like the Wolfpack Premium, of where there's 2 rounds now. And also, I think DM33 from like the 120s can also pin it at some weird angles. But at the end of the day, the 2 rounds you need to look out for, M900 and also your good old 3BM42. Both of those rounds can pin the Challenger's cheeks, which is just going to be very bad for you. So unless you're at range, unless you're at some extreme, distance and also angle, you're trying to like go over deflate or something, it's going to be one of those vehicles that just gets pinned through the turret. But every other APFSDS and also HeatFS should have a pretty huge problem of going through at least the cheek. Now, the Achilles heel of Challengers, and this will be something that everyone tells you, the gun breach. The gun breach is horrible. You will spend a majority of your time with the Challengers repairing gun breaches, and it's not fun. You just sit there and you wonder why you're playing Britain. But yeah, that's the Challenger 2. The Challenger DS, So, the last question we gotta ask ourselves is, would I actually recommend the Challenger DS? And surprisingly, I'd probably say consider it. I wouldn't say it's a definite get it, because I feel like it's a playstyle for some people that it's kind of hard to get used to. Like, you kind of have to just kind of expect what your team's going to do and kind of go fill in the gap where they're starting to, get, pushed or stuff like that. It's going to be really good at range. It's not going to be good on those maps like Abandoned Factory where, stuff can easily pin you, but it's overall a really decent tank. I wouldn't say it's like the most meta thing in the world, but it is decent. And I feel like I always do really well in it. But you also got to remember that I played War Thunder for a very long time. Challengers, I've played them before, and it's just really cool. You got a tech tree variant of it if you want 2 of them. So you got the Mark II that you're able to bring in, which is always going to be a really positive for the lineup. The 10-0 lineup for a good old Britain's also pretty well. You got a couple 9.7s, and as well as, all that sort of stuff you can bring in. Correction, you don't have any 9.7s. 10-0s with like good old like 9.3s, and as well as FFK. Don't mention that, right? But at the end of the day, I kind of recommend it. It's one of those vehicles that's going to be decent. It's not going to be meta breaking or anything, but it will help you grind out the tech tree of good old UK. Now, the question is, would you rather go for stuff like the Roycat and as well as the Khalid? It's kind of up to you, and I highly recommend actually just test driving it and seeing what kind of vehicles you prefer within War Thunder. So I hope everyone has a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys in the next War Thunder video.